Hey everyone, it's Bailey, your friendly neighborhood night shift nurse. I hope you enjoy this. Thanks.
Welcome back to Ideas About Self-Care, Episode 3. Welcome back to our series about self-care. If you missed the first two videos, that's okay. You can go back and watch them on the same channel where you found this video, or you can skip them altogether. The whole point of the series is to give you small, usable ideas to improve the self-care you're already doing, not to burden you with more work. Please do this module when you have time and you're interested. It is meant to be helpful, and if you aren't in the headspace to hear this, that's okay. Housekeeping note: my style of teaching, sharing, or therapy, whatever you want to call it, involves using myself as an example and oversharing. I try to make things relatable and easy to think about. Part of that means giving you engaging examples. Personal stories tend to be more engaging than made-up ones. And who doesn't like getting to learn weird things about other people? Now to our topic of the day: reframing. This is the idea that you have near complete control over your mental perspective and therefore outlook on the world. If anyone was here, they might say, "Oh, Bailey, this one sounds harder." And I would say, "It kind of is." Don't worry, we're learning and building, and it should feel a bit harder. It comes easier to some people, but it takes practice for all people. You're building a habit in the form of your worldview, like meditation, exercise, or a hobby. Disclaimer: when you get overwhelmed when something seems too hard, please practice giving yourself grace and take a break rather than stopping altogether. Your break can be as long as you want it to be. You can always come back to these videos whenever you like. They'll always be here for an example. Also, your ability to use your skills waxes and wanes with practice, life, etc. Don't beat yourself up if you feel like you're not as good at any of these skills this week as last week. Just practice a little when you're ready. Working out, you lose strength and stamina quickly if you skip too many workouts. Language, you lose your ability to speak another language comfortably if you don't use it regularly. Technical skills, they feel rusty if you don't use them regularly. Brain skills, aka self-care, the same thing. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Reframing. It comes easier to some people, but it takes practice for all people. You're building a habit in the form of your worldview, like meditation, exercise, or a hobby. Have you ever decided, "I'm going to have a great time today no matter what," and then done that? I've tried it. It takes some work, but it feels amazing. Most people have never thought, "I'm going to have a bad day no matter what," but we all know some days feel like that. Now the chicken and the egg question. Did you have a bad day, or did you have a rough event that shifted your mindset and you noticed more bad things instead of good things? Now here's a simple example. You kindly agree to spend 3 days looking for all the red cars you can find while you're out and about. I bet you'd see way more red cars than you expected. Now on the fourth day, when the exercise stopped, I bet you would notice way more red cars than you did before the exercise started. You tend to find more of what you're looking for. And if you do it for a little while, it tends to stick around and/or is easier to access again later if you want to return to the practice. It's just brain science. So if you're running around looking for good things, then you're more likely to find them. My first introduction to reframing from my mom was when I was a young girl. A driver cuts you off or is generally behaving poorly. My mom used to say, "Maybe their mom just died and they're going to the hospital to see her." Morbid and a little over the top, maybe, but honest, and a great example of reframing. My reaction: shock and sadness for the person, then frustration that maybe that isn't the case, and they're just a jerk, and now I'm giving them credit they don't deserve. My mom's reaction: but does it matter? You can't control their behavior. You'll never be able to tell them they're a bad driver or that they made a mistake. So holding that anger or frustration is only affecting you. Now, if you feel sorry for them because they must be stressed and their life is hard for some reason I don't understand, I don't feel as angry or frustrated, and I'm able to move on much more quickly. Now, what do you do if you have the opportunity to talk to the person that was a jerk and there's a safe way to give them feedback? Do you feel prepared and educated how to safely and kindly confront somebody? It can be a skill all on its own. Most people don't like confrontation. Some just appear to be better at it because they've practiced over the years. One tool to try with reframing and confrontation is assume good intent first and seek to understand what they meant prior to forming an opinion and a reaction. This one takes practice for sure. The thought behind this one is most people are not running around trying to be assholes. They may act like assholes, but I really don't think their intention is to run around hurting people. Intent is another conversation altogether, but remember, we're focusing on our mental state and the only thing we can control. What I found over the years working with human beings is that 99% of the time, when other people are jerks towards you, it's not about you at all. Unless you were a jerk first, just say. It's about whatever they have going on in their life, and you happen to be an easy target for some reason. Shitty to say, but true. That doesn't mean it's okay, but it's powerful to realize to retake control of your headspace in those situations. Even if their intent is to hurt other people, we don't have control over them. All we have control over is our own thoughts and behavior. Let's just try to make our own heads super lovely to be in. And maybe start setting some boundaries about how we expect others to behave around us in a kind manner, of course. With that in mind, what if your first impulse is to assume there was a misunderstanding and seek to clarify the situation? If your first impulse is to assume there was a misunderstanding and seek to clarify the situation, it does three things. It calls out the situation for feeling icky. It starts setting the boundary of how you expect to be treated. More on this in a later episode. And 3, when you approach the situation with curiosity instead of anger, the conversation tends to be calmer and fairly open, which can lead to clarification and ultimately the ability for you to move on. Let's talk through some examples of words I would actually use. The key here is saying this as calmly and kindly as possible. When these examples are said with hostility or sarcasm, they may have the opposite effect. Hey, that felt a bit harsh. I'm guessing that wasn't your intent. The way you said that wasn't very kind. Is there something I've done to upset you? You're doing two things with these statements. You're calling out a behavior and how it made you feel. You're standing up for yourself, you're setting a boundary. And 2, you're giving them an out or something to latch onto in the statement to respond to that feels less threatening, which will hopefully lead to a conversation and clarity. Now, if you're on the receiving end of these words, this is your time to take a minute to think about what just happened and try again. Hopefully in a more polite and productive manner. We all make mistakes. The long pause or awkward pause tool. This is a tool used by police and other people trying to elicit information from people. This tool can be used for good or evil. Please do not use this tool for evil. People naturally want to fill in silence when asked a question. When you leave extra space in a conversation for them to reply, they tend to fill in the space and at least try to explain what happened. Remember, we're seeking to understand what they actually meant to say and let them know that their presentation was not welcome, not harm them in return. Well, I feel like this one was a little all over the place, so let's see if I can wrap it up. Reframing. 3 days of red cars, aka looking for the good things. Death drive to the hospital when the situation is out of your control. Assuming good intent almost always makes your brain a better place to be in. How to politely approach asshole behavior to clarify the situation. Set a boundary about how you expect to be treated. And get back to your happy place. I guess they all do go together and lead to future topics about boundary setting. At the end of the day, we are all wonderfully imperfect humans, just trying to figure this shit out to the best of our ability. What if our goal was to assume good intent about others because it is selfishly helpful for our brains, and we all know the next day it could be any one of us displaying asshole behavior because something's going poorly in our lives? No one is perfect. Don't we all just want a little grace thrown our way? I hope this helped or made you laugh. Thank you.